This is Mrs. Wilcoskis in the library. It is March 22nd, 2017, and this is for Ms. Collier's freshman English class and evaluating resources. So we're going to take a look at something called the CRAP test. And I know that sounds funny. I did not make this up. You can Google CRAP test, and you'll see this. Every university has its own CRAP test, and they're typically very long. And I made it 4 questions for the high school level, and this is our CRAP test. So like actually next year when you take sophomore English and you have to do a research paper, they steer you to the databases, and I encourage you to use the databases. But sometimes if you're doing a social issue that's very, very current, you have to use an open web resource, and so you may have to verify whether your resource is reliable. So you use the CRAP test. Is the resource CRAP? But really it stands for currency, which is how current it is, okay? How recent it was. If you're talking about World War II, it doesn't matter whether it was written 10 years ago or yesterday, right? Because World War II hasn't changed much since then. Maybe some of the views have, but for the most part, that'd be fine. But you can't talk about, Trump being president and you're using a resource from a year ago, which would have been before he was president, so somebody be making predictions, versus something from last week, which you could actually talk about him being president. So currency matters in some cases more than others. Relevancy. Okay, this could be a great resource, but if it's not relevant to your thesis statement or what you've claimed, then it's not a good resource. So that's something only you can decide if it's relevant. Authority. Did the person write it? Are they an authority in the field? We'll talk more about that. Accuracy. Everything you find, is it as accurate as you think it should be? Are you finding things that sound weird? Are you finding things that are contradicted elsewhere that might be considered authoritative? Also, you might have to look into that. And then purpose. What was the purpose behind the website? Is the purpose to sell you something? If so, are you going to take the research on is chocolate milk good for you from the chocolate milk company? Or do you want to get chocolate milk's good for you from the Food and Drug Administration? You know what I mean? You want to, if they're trying to sell something, then you have to remember that and see it through that lens instead of, can't assume that the information's bad, but you've got to remember they may not be telling you the whole story. So anyway, that's what the CRAP test is. So we're going to come over here and we're going to talk about what makes a perfect match, because that was one of the topics of Robin Hood and Maid Marian. Are they a perfect match? So I just typed in what makes a perfect match, and actually I spelled it wrong, and Google corrected it for me. So it's really, really nice. So here's my hit. So we're going to start by looking at this resource, okay? Psychology Today. And I'm thinking, actually, let's take a look at these right away. Just look at these right here. Psychology Today. I'm thinking that's a magazine, and that could be valid, okay? Match.com. We know that's a website that's selling you matchmaking services. It doesn't mean it's wrong. It just means they're trying to sell you something. Look through it through that lens, okay? California Psychics. If you were big into psychics, maybe this would be good for you. I'd skip this one altogether because I don't believe a psychic is an authority on anything. This is insider.com. No idea what this is, insider.com. So right here, that doesn't tell me anything. I'd have to look more for it. Dailymail.co.uk. Okay, this is supposed to be a news site. Doesn't mean it's wrong. Daily Mail is like one of those, I'm trying to think of what to liken it to. BuzzFeed. Okay, yeah, I don't know about that. No, can't imagine a credible source called Geek and Jock, but I don't know. eHarmony, that's another thing that another website that's selling a service. Astrology, yeah. Now we're going back into something that I find questionable. WikiHow. Anything wiki is user-generated content. User meaning that you and I could add to the content. User-generated content typically is not acceptable for any type of research. So we're going to keep going. Okay, so you can keep going. A lot of times you can tell just by looking at who made the site whether it's going to be even possibly relevant for what you're doing. So let's just go right here. And we're going to look at this. What should you look for in your perfect match? So before you even read this article to see if it's relevant for your purposes, come down here and let's look at what is Psychology Today. I'm going to come down here, usually go to the bottom and get the about. Okay, it says Sussex Publishers. It also doesn't say anything about if they want to distance themselves from the content, they will usually say down here that the content does not reflect the opinions or the views of the publishers. Then that's them not taking responsibility for the content. Okay, sometimes you find it right down here, sometimes you find it in the about. So, okay, here's it. Psychology Today is gathered a group of renowned psychologists, academics, and psychiatrists to writers to contribute their thoughts. Okay. It's a magazine, so they're trying to sell you a magazine. Let's see if there's anything else that makes me think of anything that I'd have to look into. Nope. Okay, so this is a magazine. Okay. Alrighty, so we're going to go back to this we're going to go to this article, and we're going to look at who wrote this article. Okay, here's the date. So, okay, here's our checklist. So, yes, the publisher is Psychology Today. Do they take responsibility for the content and its credibility? I would assume they do. They are, it's a real magazine. You could do a little research, see if it's a real magazine. It's a real magazine. And they didn't distance itself by making that statement, that disclaimer that we talked about. Let's go to author. Okay, who's this author? She says she has a PhD. Okay, let's see. Does she have a PhD in basket weaving, or is she talking about something that she studies? So we're going to, it doesn't always work like this. Sometimes I actually have to take this name and go Google it somewhere else, but this place allows me to just click it, even though it doesn't look like a live link, it is. Heidi Grant Halverson is an associate director of the Motivation Science Center and Columbia Business School. Okay, so she works at Columbia University. That sounds reasonable. And I don't know what these things are, but you can look into that and see if they are reputable. But anything that's associated with the university, it doesn't mean they're always right. It means that they're considered reputable and that their opinion is considered valid. Okay. And that they'd be an authority in the field. Okay, so come down here. You can read this. Okay, so we would say here, yes, you can verify their credentials, and they are practicing in the field that they're writing about. Okay, this was written in 2013. I think it's pretty current enough. Citations and links. Okay, are they referencing their work? You have to reference their work, but newspaper articles don't have to reference their work. But a good news article will either have links or suggested further reading. Okay, otherwise you can't check their work, and sometimes it's hard to find. Oftentimes they are active links, but I don't think these are active links for that, where they'll be like, in this resource, and I'll have an active link right there. But this right here, but new research. So you click here, and they're leading you to the new research. Okay, that's a good thing. She is citing her work. New research in this journal suggests something about odd couples. I have no idea. Anyway, but the point is that they're citing their work, and that's a good thing. Sometimes they tell you at the bottom what to more to read on. Get more to read on. And then here they give you more information about the author, which is always a good thing. So here I would say, yes, they gave links to further information or citing their sources. So I would be happy with this. So you would fill this in and give this to a teacher, typically, if you wanted to use an open resource. Okay. And that's what you should do. You should always. So let's go back here. Let's do this one. I haven't even done this one yet. Whoopsie, I can't. Let's see. See if I can get it that way. Nope. I bet you I can't get it at school. Okay. Let's see if I can get this one at school. Yeah, well, web filter violation. Okay. So there you go. Those are our filters. So what you want to do is look for all of those parts in every single resource to see if it's valid. Okay. Before you even read it, take a quick look and see if you can vet that information, meaning filter it out, say it's good information, and that will help you use resources that your teacher will allow. Let me know if you have any questions.